Leading global specialist risk consultancy Control Risks, alongside Oxford Economics Africa, have launched the 6th edition of the Africa Risk Reward Index. The report examines the longer-term impact of COVID-19 on the continent. For more on its findings, I'm now being joined by Bukola Bolarinwa, the Senior Analyst for West Africa at Control Risks. She joins me from London. Bukola Bolarinwa, thank you so much for joining me on Channels Business Global. For those who may not have had the time or the opportunity to read through your recent report, what are some of the standout conclusions?
Thank you very much for having me. So our report is called the Africa Risk Reward Index. And essentially what we looked at is the investment landscape for major African countries, and to really look at the outlook for key trends that are shaping the investment decisions for businesses in these economies over the next kind of few years coming. And a few real things to look at firstly is obviously the pandemic and how that's shaping the economies of different African countries, and how this also presents some opportunities, especially in Africa health tech and biotech. We also look at a theme which we call paying the bill, looking at the innovative solutions to Africa's debt crisis and how some governments are rethinking their finances in ways that offers new opportunities. And finally, a key theme from the report is what we call cooperation, competition, and conflict, and the changing dynamics of military intervention in Africa, especially looking around the security situation in different African countries and how investors can navigate a very complex security landscape.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask about the security situation because, as you said, your report does highlight that. Of course, there are so many successes, including fintech. We've had many of the CEOs on the show over the past 18 months. But would you suggest, or do the findings suggest, that some international investors are put off by Africa's security situation? That, of course, isn't the same across the continent, but is still pretty severe in some pockets.
Yes, definitely. There's no investor that's going to be looking into Africa that isn't going to be assessing the security situation. But the main thing for us, and which we highlight in this report, is really to understand local dynamics and to understand the sector that you're going into. So, for example, if you're a fintech investor, like you've mentioned, your sort of exposure to security risks is very different from, say, if you want to go into a mining operation or an oil and gas operation in a particular region. So it's really about understanding the country, understanding the local dynamics of where it is that you want to work, and being able to create mitigating measures against some of the security risks, no matter the country, and as difficult as some of the security situations can be, investors are still investing and finding ways to work through them.
Absolutely. Before I let you go, Bukola, what are some of the kind of standout countries? We do like to fly the flag of Nigeria on this show, but are there any kind of other places where, you know, you're seeing lots of investor interest?
Yeah, I mean, the standout one is obviously Ethiopia. The economy is opening up over the last kind of few years now with new investments in telecommunications and so on. It's obviously a place as well where the security situation is quite complex, but it is one where we're seeing quite a lot of it in interest. Another one is Zambia, actually, with the recent elections. There is opportunity for reform and rethinking of some of the ways that things have been done there. So it creates new opportunities for investors looking into East Africa.
Well, fascinating insights there. Bukola Bolarinwa, the Senior Analyst for West Africa for Control Risks. Thanks so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.